in order to be able to pursue our livelihoods and have economic independence and security, we also have to be able to take care of our family welfare. And this requires balancing work and family. And to do so, we have to adopt two sets of measures. One set which addresses the problem of time. The other which addresses resources, both financial and resources involving provisions of care. Now, on the one hand, we all face the problem of having work demands that may make it impossible for us to attend to our family responsibilities. And in order to be able to allow our family freedoms and our economic freedoms to be in harmony with one another, we need to think of mandating the following measures. On the one hand, we have to ensure that all employers will provide paid emergency family leave, so that if any family emergency arises, we will be able to take off from work without suffering economic consequences and be able to provide the care that is needed in those emergency situations. Moreover, we need to be able to take off time with uninterrupted pay to care for the events around pregnancy and the birth of a new child. And for that reason, we should follow the example of almost every other developed nation and provide paid 9-month parental leave. Leave that could be taken by either father or mother to provide the care necessary for the newborn and to be able to deal with the difficulties of pregnancy. Now, in addition to these allowances of paid leave, we also have to have, on a regular basis, paid vacation so that we have time to take off from work and enjoy our families and have time to be with our children and our spouses. And again, we should follow the example of most other developed nations and require all employers to provide 1 month paid vacation for all employees, whether they're full-time, part-time, or freelancers. Now, I think we realize that it's almost impossible to be able to perform one's responsibilities as a spouse or a parent if one is jobless and has no means of livelihood. We also are going to find it extremely challenging to provide for care of spouse or other relatives or our children if we're employed but are not making a living wage. Nevertheless, even if we ensure that everyone who is able and willing to work is afforded employment at a living wage, there are still financial difficulties and difficulties involving obtaining care that one needs, particularly to provide for our children and any other family members who need care, such as elders. Now, admittedly, if we provide a living wage to individuals, that still leaves unattended the extra expenses that family members have who have children that they have to care for. This will involve additional household expenses, including greater rent or mortgage payments, since one will need additional rooms. It will involve additional food, clothing, and other measures. So in order to deal with this, we need to provide families with a child allowance that's sufficient to meet these additional expenses. And this can be done by providing $500 per month per child to all custodians of children. If you think about this provision, it would be a tremendous remedy to childhood poverty and the effects that that has on the future opportunities of individuals. There are 74 million children in the United States. If we were to provide child benefits of $500 per month per child, that comes to $6,000 per year per child. If you multiply that by 74 million, you come to $44 billion that would be required annually to provide families with child benefits that could give them sufficient funds to deal with most of the demands of raising children and strike a huge blow at childhood poverty that affects nearly half of all children in the United States. Now, $44 billion may sound like a lot of money, but we have to think of it in reference to our national income, which is $18 billion per year. $44 billion is a tiny fraction of our national income. It's less than 0.5%. It's something that could be easily paid for by any of the most rich individuals in the United States. Moreover, if one thinks about the total wealth of the United States, that comes to $90 trillion. $44 billion is a tiny fraction of that. It's almost less than 0.1% of the national wealth. So there would be no problem funding a child benefit that would enable families to have the financial resources they need to bring up their children in dignity. Now, in addition to this, we also have to provide child care and elder care, because the expense of child care can be overwhelming for a family, particularly if they have more than one child. The same thing is true of elder care. Many families are being overwhelmed with the responsibilities of caring for aged parents or aged relatives or disabled relatives who need round-the-clock care. So to remedy that problem, we need to provide free public child care and free public elder care, and do something that we did long ago with regard to public education. We committed ourselves to provide free public education to all, and to do so without any means tests, without putting people through the indignity and difficulty of indicating that they are disadvantaged. This is something that should be provided to all, and it can easily be paid for by making use of highly graduated income and wealth taxes that will put the burden for these necessary expenses on those who can most easily afford to do so. This will then involve a huge emancipation for American families. It will enable all individuals to be able to exercise their social freedoms and earn a living without having to compromise their family welfare. And in this way, we can really bring into balance the demands of work and family.